Welcome to the Shield database. Please enter your access code. Welcome, Agent. Murdock's life is a constant balancing act between two distinct identities. When prowling the streets of Hell's Kitchen as Daredevil, Murdock has a number of allies that can be called upon in the fight to keep New York safe. However, when the mask comes off, there are still a number of people in Matt's orbit willing to look out for him or requiring his protection. Here are 10 of the people closest to Matt Murdock. Just like Matt Murdock, Blake Tower was a gifted lawyer, born and raised in New York City. He first appeared within the lives of Murdock and Nelson as Foggy's opponent in the election for district attorney, an election he went on to win. Mr. Tower has since proven himself worthy of the position, going on to team Daredevil up with Uri Geller in an effort to defeat the supervillain Mindwave, as well as helping to defeat the Jester, defending Spider-Man in court, being the prosecution for both the Punisher and the Winter Soldier, and hiring Jennifer Walters as a lawyer. Tower seems to be one of the few lawyers in New York who has gained the respect of Matt Murdock. Kristen McDuffie was the assistant district attorney, so confident in the fact that Daredevil and Matt Murdock were one in the same that she would constantly be trying to prove it. Despite this minor annoyance, Murdock and McDuffie had instant chemistry, and when Franklin Nelson had to take a leave of absence to get treated for cancer, McDuffie stepped in and took over his workload, and a romantic relationship began to bloom. McDuffie and Murdock became so close, in fact, that when he moved across the country to San Francisco, she joined him and they opened up their own law firm. This didn't last long, however, as an encounter with the Purple Man and his children led to McDuffie forgetting that Matt was Daredevil and Matt taking that as an opportunity to leave her so that she would no longer be in danger. Dakota North is a successful private investigator who frequently collaborates with the costumed community, having worked with Spider-Man, Punisher, the Black Panther and Luke Cage in the past. She is close friends with fellow PI Jessica Jones, and it is through her that North met Nelson and Murdock. North became Murdock's bodyguard after the identity of Daredevil was leaked to the papers, and, after Murdock was sent to prison, North worked with Ben Urich to figure out who was running around the streets of New York pretending to be Daredevil. Once Matt was released from prison, North helped in the investigation surrounding Matt's friend Melvin Potter and wife Milla Donovan, both of whom had been accused of murder. Though no longer as prominent a part of Matt's life as she used to be, North and Murdock are still presumably on good terms. Milla Donovan was born blind and raised on the streets of Hell's Kitchen. She first met Daredevil when he prevented her from being ran over while crossing the road. A romance instantly blossomed and they eventually had a private wedding, which was later annulled as Milla became convinced that their relationship was simply a symptom of Matt still grieving Karen Page. This rocky patch soon passed, however, and it looked as if the two were in for a happy ending until Milla began showing signs of being mentally unstable. Her condition quickly deteriorated and she now resides in a mental institution. It was eventually revealed that her condition was brought about due to chemicals administered by Daredevil's foe, Mr. Fear, and as a result Milla's parents denied him any right to visit her ever again, effectively ending their story. Matt does, however, still check in on her without her knowing, in the interests of keeping her safe. The man who would come to be known as the Gladiator was once nothing more than a costume designer in New York City. He eventually turned his hand to a life of crime, becoming one of the Man Without Fear's most recurring foes. This life eventually proved too much for Melvin Potter, however, and he began attempting to redeem himself, especially within the eyes of the man who had thwarted him so many times in the past. Melvin became not only legitimate but also a force for good, helping Matt Murdock whenever he could. Matt similarly became invested in helping Potter make the most of his life and prevent him from slipping back into his old ways. A friendship developed between the two, with Potter even serving as Matt's bodyguard for a period. Like most of Matt's relationships, however, it ended in tragedy as Potter's mind was altered in the same event that took the mind of Mila Donovan. Potter is now confined to a mental institution and is once again a severe danger to anyone who may cross his path, as when he is at his most confused, the gladiator persona returns and causes untold damage. Sister Maggie Murdock was a loving mother to Matt, however, due to severe postnatal depression, she became a danger to him, at one point trying to kill her newly born. This incident caused Maggie to abandon her family so as not to hurt them, and she eventually joined a sisterhood, watching her family from afar until the day Daredevil wound up bloody and beaten on her doorstep. She nursed him back to health and their relationship was renewed, although she would still not admit to being his mother. Some time later, Matt visited her with a baby he believed to be the Antichrist, and in the interests of helping both Matt and the child, she admitted everything. After the death of Karen Page, a death she was present for, Maggie attended the funeral and asked Matt for permission to be a part of her son's life, which he granted. His mother has been a stable part of his life ever since. Ben Urich is a tough-as-nails journalist working for the Daily Bugle and has been one of Matt's most consistent allies in both his life as Daredevil and as Matthew Murdock. Urich's skill as a reporter allowed him to figure out the identity of Daredevil and confront him about it. Matt confessed to Urich, who then decided to burn his story for the greater good, and from there Urich became one of Matt's most trusted friends. Urich is usually on the front lines of any supervillain or mob-related crime, and it is due to this that he often finds himself in perilous positions. He has been beaten on numerous occasions by mob enforcers and was once impaled by Elektra, who was working for Wilson Fisk at the time. This determination has gained him a lot of respect by not only Daredevil but the entire superhero community, and he also counts Spider-Man as a close friend. Jack Murdock was the father of Matt and in many ways the catalyst for his transformation into Daredevil. He raised Matt on his own and, despite being a boxer by trade, encouraged Matt never to solve problems with his fists and to use his brain. He supported Matt in his pursuit of a law degree, however by the time he achieved this, Jack had become an aging prize fighter and was having difficulty making enough money to support himself and his blind son. He was forced to start working for Roscoe Sweeney, a man he had previously avoided due to his reputation. Sweeney fixed his fights and Jack became successful once again in spite of his age. However, when the time came for Jack to throw a fight, he refused so as not to lose the respect of his son. This decision, however, cost him his life, as Sweeney promptly had him killed. It is this event that first caused a now adult Matt to alter his father's old robes into a costume and take down Sweeney as Daredevil. Karen Page could arguably be considered the one true love of Matt Murdock's life. Initially the secretary at Nelson and Murdock's, Karen often found herself, through no fault of her own, in perilous situations, frequently being abducted by enemies of Daredevil such as the Owl or the Purple Man. However, every time Daredevil rescued her, their bond grew stronger. Karen soon realized she was falling in love with both Matt Murdock and Daredevil, and Matt eventually felt comfortable revealing to her that the two men she loved were one in the same. After some deliberation on his part, Matt decided to abandon the Daredevil identity to be with Karen, but when he couldn't keep that promise, Karen left to start a new life in LA. Here her life took a severe turn for the worse, however, as she found herself addicted to heroin and making pornographic films in order to afford the habit. Eventually she became so desperate that she sold Daredevil's identity for a hit, and this information eventually made its way to Wilson Fisk. Matt's life was destroyed, however. When she eventually returned to him, she found that his love for her could survive even a betrayal as large as this. This happy ending wasn't to last, however, and a few years later Karen was tragically killed by Bullseye, an event which scarred Matt more than any before or since, and which still influences the choices he makes in regards to how he handles his personal relationships. Franklin Nelson, known to his friends as Foggy, has always, and will always be Matt Murdock's closest friend. First meeting each other when they became roommates at Columbia Law School, the two formed a bond that eventually led to the pair forming their own law firm in Hell's Kitchen. Foggy is in many ways the antithesis of Matt, in that he is a lazy slob who cares little for his body or personal hygiene. On a deeper level, however, Foggy and Matt share much in common, as both are skilled lawyers who care deeply for the law and have unshakable ethics. Foggy often feels inferior to Matt but never lets this affect his friendship or loyalty, and his life as an everyman helps to ground Matt. In contrast, however, Matt's life as a vigilante is often the biggest source of strain in their relationship and is where most of their personal drama stems from. When the Purple Children removed all knowledge of Daredevil's identity from everyone on Earth, Foggy was the only person Matt was willing to reshare the information with. However, Foggy did not appreciate this burden, and the two parted ways as friends for a while before reforming, both realizing that their lives are better when the other is a part of it. Despite a bout of cancer and spending some time presumed dead after a prison stabbing, Foggy is one of Matt's only friends who has been able to survive his friendship unscathed, making him not only Matt's most enduring friend but the closest relationship he has.